everyone, and welcome to the Divine Feminine Collective. My name is Jasmine Turner, and I'm the creator of the Divine Feminine Collective. Thank you very much for being here tonight. The Divine Feminine Collective was created in 2017 to open up the conversation, break the taboo around intimacy, sexuality, and sensuality. And more, I was noticing in mainstream society that there was so much resistance-based conversation, around the subject of our sexuality. And my mission is to basically build a bridge between mainstream society and all this. There's a whole world of practitioners and beautiful learnings that we can take on in our lives, and to bring the sacredness back to who we are as women, and bring the sacredness back to our bodies, bring the sacredness back to our intimacy and our sensuality, and start honoring our sovereignty as women. So that's a little bit about the Divine Feminine Collective. We have a retreat coming up in February, which is called Awakening the Divine Feminine. And we still have tickets available for that. And we're going to be doing a series of workshops delivered by world-class presenters who will be doing workshops on Kundalini Yoga, Tantra, sacred sexuality. We'll be doing an erotic dance workshop, and we will also be doing workshops on self-pleasure, self-love, and our sovereignty as women. So we still have tickets available for that, and details are on the Divine Feminine Collective page. And one of the other things that we're doing here at the Divine Feminine Collective is a series of interviews with people who I have met along my journey of discovery. And tonight we're going to be talking about pleasure, intimacy, and yonies with the very, very beautiful Elise Savaresse. Hello, Elise.
Hello.
Thank you very much for being here tonight with us.
My pleasure.
It's an honour to have you here, and I wanted to honour you for the work that you do, and it's you really impacted my life last year and this year as well. You know, it's a constant learning about yonies, and you've opened up a world for me that has created sacredness for who we are as women, and I know I still got a lot to learn, and I'm in the conversation of learning, and I guess part of the reason why I'm doing these interviews is to share my journey with people. So I'm learning just as much from tonight as what everyone else is. So thank you very much for generously giving your time tonight.
It's my pleasure, Jasmine.
So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to read your bio, because I really do, it's important, I believe, to capture who you are. So I'm just going to read it now. So Elise is a pleasure and embodiment coach, sex educator, and co-creator of the Yoniverse. She has been consciously exploring pleasure for the past decade, and worked with thousands of women through her private sessions, offering yoni massage and yoni massage therapy. Oh, sorry, yoni mapping therapy. Online programs with their 21-day self-pleasure challenge. And in the past 2 years, offering the Yoniverse workshops and retreats all over Australia. The Yoniverse is the sex education you wished you had in high school, which is made sacred. She loves empowering women and men to experience deeper intimacy, pleasure, and connection with themselves and in their relationships. So that is So thank you again for being on the show tonight, Elise. Oh, show. This isn't a show. Oh, sorry, it's an interview. So before we get into our discussion tonight, I wanted to ask, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm going to share how I started with this work. Otherwise, I could be talking about lots of things. So I started exploring conscious sexuality with my previous partner. Yes. And he introduced me to meditation. He was really into Osho at the time, so I did a lot of active meditation. And he introduced me to the world of Tantra.
Yes.
And we explored a lot of within our relationship. And I guess being the person that I am, I'm always curious. So you introduce something and I take it and I run with it and I'm like, why don't we try this? And I remember the day that I told him, why don't we meditate when you're inside me and see what happens? And so we explored that. So he penetrated me and then just rested on top of my body. And what happened is that we both felt his erection kind of go away. And as he was about to come out, his erection came back in again. And what that did is that we were both able, because there wasn't any other stimulation or we weren't meant to do anything in that place, we both kind of deeply just felt what was going on in our genitals and actually realized a lot of the subtle sensations that were there that we couldn't feel when we were in the kind of stimulation-based type of lovemaking. So that really for us kind of opened a new world, and we fully explore that place where we will slow down or pause a lot in lovemaking and just listen. And we come to that place of really feeling how alive our genitals were and how they were kind of talking to each other.
Yeah.
So it was from like trying to do something in lovemaking to like being so present and so still and so listening that you're just kind of like witnessing what's happening.
Wow.
So that was really, really powerful in our relationship, and we kind of explored from that place in so many ways. And I've experienced sensation in my Yonies that I didn't know were possible. I've had like experience of feeling spirals at the back inside my Yoni like for weeks at a time.
Wow.
Just from going to the, because I think before that, sex for me was really, okay, we do this like that, we start with this position, then we do this one, and then we finish with this one because I know that's going to make me come. And so, you know, like you kind of fall into routine sex and you do what works. And in our relationship, it was fun because it was always that, what else can we find? What else can we explore? What if we do that? And it really, like, a lot of what I learned in Tantra and conscious sexuality or through books or workshops, often I would have first experience and then someone would put a context to it. And I was like, yeah, I've had that experience.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I share doesn't come from I learned something and then I experienced it. It was the other way around. I experienced it and then someone talked about it. So I always share that in my work. I always say, be open, be curious, because that alone will take you a lot further than if you just try to follow the teaching of what someone else is telling you should experience.
Yeah.
And after that, I was able to really surrender to pleasure and to being in my body with him. But I realized that when I was on my own, I still felt a lot of shame. I still felt really uncomfortable in my body when I was touching myself or wanting to self-pleasure. So that's when I created the self-pleasure challenge. It was an open, like I wanted to explore what it would be like to self-pleasure for 21 days, because I know it takes 21 days to rewire a pathway, because I love everything that goes with the brain and habits and how we can really create our reality. So I just like wheel the two together. And I thought, oh, well, you know, you're always more accountable when you do it with other people. So I was like, who wants to do this with me? And I created this program, and what I've experienced through this program totally transformed my relationship to my Yoni, from trying to work out to, again, really finding her power, really finding her wisdom, and coming from a place of, okay, let's dance together. So, and from that, then not long after that, I moved to Byron Bay and met Bonnie, and we basically have Bonnie Bliss, who created the Yoniverse with me. And we have very similar principles when it comes to conscious sexuality, intimacy, and pleasure. We have it's really coming back to basics and very simple things. And so it was kind of the match in heaven. And yeah, like the first time we offered the Yoniverse workshop for men, in 48 hours it sold out. So we thought we were onto something, and that was 2 years ago. And now we've run almost 40 workshops all over Australia. Or close to 1,000 people, men and women, have come to our workshop. So
beautiful.
That's the evolution, I guess.
Yeah, beautiful. So thank you for sharing that part of your life. It sounds like you've been on an exquisite journey. And not only have you been on the journey, but you've discovered something, and you've taken a step further, and you've actually your work is Australia wide, and we're going to talk a little bit more about your work throughout tonight's interview. But if you don't mind me asking, just as a woman, what do you struggle with as a woman? Yeah, let's bring some humanity into this conversation.
So something I guess that I've struggled with for a long time has been emotions.
Yeah, I can relate.
And I think especially anger. It's an emotion that I find women we are not really comfortable with. It's like men is sadness, and you know they're not meant to feel, and they're more comfortable in anger.
Yeah.
And I have and just the enormity of feeling, because I guess by becoming more sensitive, I've allowed myself to feel more, and that involves feeling more sadness, feeling more touch, feeling more hurt by what's happening in the world, and just the intensity of emotion. I still have to this day judgment around it, because I find society is so we are so kind of framed to think that we should always all be happy and have a good time. Everything we see on social media is all happy faces.
Yeah, our lives are perfect. We got nothing going on. Yeah.
To allow ourselves and not to have judgment, because that's the thing, is the self-talk that goes with the emotion and the shame. And I think shame is one emotion that's often not talked about, because that's the one where we don't want to express, because it's so self-destructive.
Yeah.
So I'm still struggling at times with emotions and allowing myself to feel them.
Yeah. I can really relate to that. And I think one of my biggest lessons that I learnt in my life, in fact, it's probably one of my top 3 lessons that I learnt last year, was that we, as human beings, or women especially, we shame ourselves for feeling like shit, or we shame ourselves for feeling emotions like sadness or anger, or jealousy, or you know, there's the light, beautiful, light, loving, you know, whatever, happy, blah 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 blah, you know, all the glorious feelings that we love feeling, and then there's the feelings that we feel that we're ashamed of. And this really powerful lesson that I learned last year was to be compassionate with myself and to allow myself to feel those feelings. But it's an ongoing thing, because even this morning I was angry myself, and then I was like, no, I'm just going to allow myself to be angry, because I am angry. And you know, I could just see it as emotion that I was feeling, and I knew it was going to pass, and just so yeah, and I know a lot of people can relate to that.
It's a constant. That's something I think it's a constant work, because we are not being taught is how to be with our emotion. Women, we are constantly being told that, oh yes, it's your PMS, you know, as if it was something wrong, but it's like it's our emotionality, and we are not being like honored in that. So it's a journey to reclaim your emotionality.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Cool. Thank you. I really do appreciate you being vulnerable with that. I know that can be a tricky question, so thank you.
Yeah, and we're all on the same journey. You know, it's like life is a process. I don't think someone can say, okay, I've got everything sorted now.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing I got last year was, and you know, when I actually reached out to someone about how I was feeling, and I'm like this awful feeling that I had inside of me, which was like really confronting, and I hated the feeling, and I hated experiencing it, and I hated the whole world of it. And then when I actually did speak out to someone, I reached out to someone that I really value their contribution. She turned around and said to me, she said, you know, I experienced that as well. And it took me for a six. It's the last thing I thought she would ever say to me on the phone. And she was like, no, I experienced that as well. So yeah, dealing with our emotions is something that we can learn to be very kind and gentle with ourselves on it. So
yeah, I have a mentor. She said we are human as fuck, and I'm like, yeah.
we should title this human as fuck. I love it.
Exactly. We are doing our best in the world, but every now and then we are gonna fall, and then we bring ourselves up, and that's how we do that matter, and how we take responsibility for what we do, how we communicate our emotions.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So let's have a conversation about the Yoniverse, which you created, you co-created with the very, very beautiful Bonnie Bliss, who we interviewed last week. I
know, I was the interview, it was awesome.
So I personally believe that you two ladies are a match made in heaven. And I think what you said before actually captured that, but that's honestly, I was like, you couldn't get a more perfectly matched union of souls and what you're creating and what you're committed to. So I love who you both are. But what was your intention for creating the Yoniverse?
So my intention was I had experiences of sacred union where you with a partner and you experience like it's as if all the walls of separation disappear. You have a sense of oneness, a sense of connection to something that's higher. You feel like your heart is totally broken open, and it feels so deeply connected that all the bullshit that you can say, like you didn't take the trash, or you know, like the things that we get upset about, they just don't matter. And those experiences, I had no reference point in mainstream society, and I wanted to bring that to mainstream society. I wanted to remind people of the sacredness of sexuality, their body, and of the beauty of sex. And that there is an image like, with pornography and all the way that now we are like over sexualized and women are objectified. It's just like that. I don't know, it makes me sad. And if you listen around, like people talk about sex, but often it's like, oh, sex, it's not this thing, oh, sex, you know, like it's this beautiful thing. And yeah, that was the intention behind creating the Yoniverse, creating a space where we could give tools to people to have that experience in their relationship.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Cool. So I think you mentioned before, so it happens Australia-wide now. So how often is the Yoniverse scheduled, and how do people find out about you know, the schedule of dates and the programs?
So we've been like so busy that we actually train 7 facilitators. So now we are 9 spreading the Yoni love all over Australia.
Okay, beautiful.
And we are basically coming 4 times a year in every major city. So Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, and we're in Byron Bay, and we're also going to the Sunshine Coast. And we are starting again at the end of February, starting in Perth.
Yes.
And all the information and all the dates are on our website, theyoniverse.com.
Theyoniverse.com. Okay, cool. We might post a link to that in the comments after. And for everyone that's out there and listening, I can vouch. I did the Yoniverse last year, and I did the women's one, and my beautiful partner went along to the men's one. And from what I've learned, that they're quite sort of the men's Yoniverse is worlds apart from the women's Yoniverse, because men have different things to learn. But for me, like my experience,
they don't have a Yoni.
Yeah, they don't have a Yoni. Yeah, that's right. But they need to learn about them. Well, if they want to learn. But it was. I mean, I personally appreciated him going, and from what I've learned, the men that do go get a newfound appreciation and not appreciation, understanding the sacredness of our bodies as women. So, and I can 1,000,000% vouch that it was a deeply honouring day, and it was educational. And I was nervous going. I was like, oh my goodness, I took a friend along with me, but it was beautiful and nourishing and deeply and educational. And by far the sex education that I didn't have in high school, I got at the ripe old age of 36. So thank you for the work that you do with that. So I'm not going to give too much away about it. So I'll let everyone.
So thanks for sharing that it's normal to feel a bit anxious and like a bit a bit funny about coming, because it is quite an intimate part of our body, and a lot of women wonder, oh, are we going to get naked, or are we going to touch each other, or it feels a bit of an edge. And I really appreciate that you shared that it was a beautiful experience, because we both, Bonnie and I, have a pretty gentle approach, and we really create safety and sacredness in the day. And so I appreciate your sharing.
That's okay. That's okay. So so on the conversation of Yonies, now I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable here. I'm a bit embarrassed that I'm going to share this, but I'm going to, because I have a purpose for this. So I saw my Yoni for the first time last year, and I was already confronted about doing it, but I did it. And so I'm sitting there looking at my Yoni with a mirror, and probably in a little bit of shock that I was looking at it for the first time in my life, in my multiple decades of being alive. And a lot of shame came up for me, and I had this mirror in my hand, and I'm looking at this mirror, and I'm like, oh my God, is that what it looks like? Oh my God, it's really fat. And like, I had like all of sort of these memories coming up of, like men in my past relationships and past communities of people that I have been involved in, and the way that they talk about women's body parts. And like, I was like, I don't even really want to repeat it on a Facebook Live, because it's awful, but all these things came up for me, all this shame. And I was like, oh my God, it's really fat. And then like, the funny side to this story is that I didn't realize I was looking at the magnified version of the mirror, because it was two sides. I turned it around. I was like, oh my God, okay, that's better. Like, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, so anyway, so like, that aside, I guess the reason why I shared that is because there is a lot of shame around our private parts and what we do, and how we acknowledge our bodies. So, and I guess with your experience doing the Yoniverse and the work that you do, what are your thoughts on how women can release this shame that we have about our bodies and our Yonis?
It's something we talk about a lot with the men in the workshop.
Good.
And we actually talk about Yoni shame, like there is body shame, and we say Yoni shame.
Wow, good.
I think the first thing is to actually look at other people's yoni. Like not getting your friends and not doing that, but just having a visual. And I have a book here which is really good called The Heart of the Flower, and we show this for a book at the workshop, and it has beautiful pictures of different yonis, different size, lips, different color. And what that does is really helps you to see that there is a diversity. When you've never, because we are not like men, our genitals are not, you can't see them unless you're sitting with your legs open and a mirror. So we are not going around looking at each other's yoni and comparing in the same easy way that men can do. You know, like they go and at sports, you know, when you get changed or whatever, they can see each other's genital, but we don't have that experience. And I know for a fact that a woman will have had a visual young of different style and different size yoni have less shame because they're aware that there are different shape, and that the inner lips can go all the way to 10 centimeters. So the ones that you see in pornography or in magazines are not real because they are real actually, but they're you know, they're often photoshops or they've had labiaplasty, and there is this overemphasis on having small labia, and the reality is that labia can be of all different sizes. So the first thing I would say is find a way to be exposed. So look online, find this book, come to the Yoniverse, because we do live demonstration and you get to see a couple of Yonies on the day. Feel also like in the same way that you did, have a look at your own Yoni and be conscious of the self-talk that comes up as you do it. Because you know, as you say, it's like things that you've heard, so it's not yours, and just being aware of where it comes from really helps to really see it. And shame, the thing about shame is something that you don't want to talk about and you don't want to feel.
That's
but
right.
The thing that if you hold yourself while feeling shame, that's how you can go past it. But so often it's such a strong emotion that we just want to go do something else. But if you can sit in it, and even
sorry, no, you talk.
So if you can just sit in that place. I remember once feeling a lot of shame about something, and what I did, I actually self-pleasured in that moment. And that totally released that experience of shame for me, because I reclaimed that my body in that moment. But yeah, also shame, the way to let go of it is talk about it with someone else.
Yeah.
So that's why the Yoniverse is great, because you are in an environment where we do a lot of sharings during the day, and you can see that other women have the same experience. So, you know, like it makes you feel better, and it makes you, in the same way that we talked about emotion before, is that humanity, that we all kind of feeling the same thing. I'm not the only one in this boat. And a beautiful way to reclaim your yoni is actually to do a drawing. It's something we do in the 21-day challenge.
Yeah.
And it's to befriend your yoni.
Beautiful, thank you. And I hope that everyone listening actually really got something out of that, and I did. And I was even just thinking as you were talking, like some of the things that came up for me last year around the shame came from, and I come from a very loving family, but I also come from a very family with a strong faith, and not that there's, you know, I wouldn't change a thing about my family, but the sort of, you know, the older generations, and especially ones that are, you know, like faith-based, they like put that away, or don't have sex before marriage, or that's dirty, don't touch that, or don't play that game. And so we're taught from a very young age that that's our no-go zone. And you know, and I even spoke to Bonnie Bliss about this last week about, you know, what education we can have, like start with, you know, our children around honouring our bodies and like all parts of our bodies and the sacredness, instead of having the it's dirty conversation, because that's really where it starts, and then it goes into your teenage years. And I was even on, you know, on this subject. I even remembered a day in grade 12 where some guy, because I've got red hair, some guy, and I went to a school in front of 1,200 kids, he turned around and called me ginger flaps in front of 1,200 kids. Yeah. And I remember experiencing, I only thought of this last week, and it's probably something that, you know, I just thought that was normal. And I thought I didn't have any education around that. And boys don't have any education around it. That's not okay to say, and that's not honouring to our bodies, because there's zero education around it. So as women, we carry around this shame in our teenage years and in our 20s and in our 30s, you know, without this type of education that, you know, that the Yoniverse is doing. And, you know, I mean, there's many people out there that are doing this type of education where we're bringing the sacredness back to our bodies. But yeah, that was, when I thought of that last week, I was like, wow, like I can't believe that happened. And yeah, and I almost sort of remembered being back there in grade 12 in the hall in front of 1,200 kids, and the humiliation that I felt. And I know I'm not the only girl that would ever experience that. That's actually probably a normal thing that lots of girls have experienced. And, you know, we need to bring back the sacredness to what, you know, to our bodies.
And we need to do that for our children, because we often talk about that in the Women Days. You can't teach something that you don't embody. So as a woman, the best thing you can do for your children and for your girls is to be comfortable with your own body. Yeah. Because there is a thing that we say, and there is an energy that we vibrate. So if we say, don't be ashamed, and we feel a lot of shame, that's not going to work. But if we don't feel shame, they're going to feel it. And then when they come and they're like touching themselves in public, and you just don't shame them, you can talk to them about, okay, maybe there are certain places where it's okay or not okay to do that. And but then if you're really open, they're going to sense it, and they're going to come and ask questions when it's time to ask questions. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. So I would like to have a conversation around intimacy.
Yes.
So my first question, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So intimacy and vulnerability, is it the same thing?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I'd say yes and no. To me, I kind of like intimacy is, we share that, is intimacy.
Yes.
Intimacy. In order to let someone see you deeply, you need to be able to let your guards, let your mask down, and that require a level of vulnerability. Vulnerability is when we're exposing ourselves and maybe getting, like, there is a risk of getting hurt, but we are willing to do that. So I think we can have vulnerability without intimacy. So for example, I could be vulnerable, but if you're not meeting me there, or if you're not hearing me, there won't be intimacy.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can have intimacy without vulnerability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
So, in one of your blog articles, you create the you compare love making to surfing, and women to the ocean. Can you tell me more about that?
Can you tell I'm a surfer?
Yes, I can. This woman, of course I can.
Well, I often I often in the men workshop, I often compare women to the ocean, because I remember one day a man said, but women, they're different every day, as if, we should be the same every day. And I'm like, well, if we're like the ocean, you're not going to the ocean and going, oh, no, the waves are too big or too small, or like, it's changing every day. We are like nature. We have that, it's never going to be the same from one day to the other. And I compare making love to surfing, because it's that aspect of change that we have as women is not a bad thing. It's something that, when I go surfing, I'm not there. I don't go and I want the same every day. I go and I appreciate what I'm receiving. And for example, so when I'm about to get on a wave, I see it coming, but I'm not looking at it going, okay, so I'm going to turn like this and do this and then do that and finish like that. Well, I start, I watch the wave, I watch where it's going to break, because it changes every time.
Yeah.
I paddle and I time myself. When I stand, I'm really like present in that moment. And there is that, like, you can have an idea of where you want to go, but you have to respond to the force of the wave.
Yes.
You can't be thinking about something else. You can't be 10 steps ahead. And that's why I say it's like making love, because that's how I see love making. It's like you're constantly in this moment, responding to this moment that takes you into another, and then you're responding to this moment. And so you're not, okay, we've been in this position for long enough, let's go to the next one. If you can be really, really present, is that each caress is gonna show you the way to the next. Each vibration in your body is taking you to the next exploration. Then you let go of being in your head and thinking about how you look like and what you should be doing, and you're actually experiencing intimacy, because you're in your body, your partner is in their body, and then you can dance together and truly meet. If either of you is in your head, it doesn't happen.
Wow, that's a beautiful analogy, and I love that you share that with the men at your Yoniverse workshop.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
I know, so many women want to.
Yeah. I'll put in. I was going to say I'll put in a special request, but no, I won't. I'll leave that. But yeah, okay. So you've mentioned a couple of times in this interview about your 21-day challenge.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So I created the challenge about 3 years ago, and as I shared earlier, it was really about letting go of shame, about touching our bodies, feeling pleasure, and coming to a place where it's okay to touch myself, like letting go of that shame. It's okay to feel pleasure, and really reclaiming our bodies as ours. Because I find as women, we kind of easily give our bodies away to experience pleasure, and it's okay if our partner gives us pleasure. But I wanted to reclaim that pleasure for myself and support women to do that. So that's what the 21 Day Self-Pleasure Challenge is about. But I'm actually changing the name.
Okay. Can I claim that this is like the official announcement for your name change? Is it like?
Yeah, it actually is, totally.
Okay, everyone, this is the launch. Drum roll. Over to you, Elise.
So because like the challenge make it sound like, oh my God, this is gonna be hard.
Yeah.
I'm changing it to a pleasure fest. So it's gonna be 3 weeks of the pleasure fest. Okay? So then there isn't that resistance, and there is a sense of joy and excitement around exploring, which is what it's really all about, because the challenge is about coming home to yourself and letting go of your idea of what masturbation looks like or what it is, and really like feeling joy in your body, feeling pleasure in your body, feeling at home within yourself. Yeah.
Beautiful. Cool. Well, sign me up after we finish this. I'll be your first. So Pleasure Fest,
Awesome.
21-day Pleasure Fest, and did you say before it started in February? You've got the next one starting in February.
It's starting next month. I think the 7th of February. I haven't released the date. This is the first time I'm talking about it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm actually gonna run this one as an offering, so it's gonna be free for this first time this year. So anyone who wants to join, I'm gonna release it probably in the next week, and you can join my list at elisesavaresse.com, and you will hear all about it.
Okay, so we'll post the details to that in the link for this thing. So cool. So people, I'll just recapture that. Your 21-day Pleasure Fest is going, like, you're going to be sending an email out about it to your emailing list in the next week or so. So if people want that information, they can go onto your website and subscribe to your emails.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay, great. So what suggestions do you have for people about creating intimacy in their relationships?
Take the time. That's a big one. So I recommend to actually create dates. Like with my partner, we have a whole day that we commit to each other. I know that not everyone has that capacity of having a whole day, but even having an evening a week that you commit to each other, where you let go of everything, of your phone, of any commitment, and you just like fully dedicating that time to each other. Not taking each other for granted. That's something that happens very quickly, I find, in relationship or over time. And it's really about noticing when you're together and you're just doing things next to each other, and you're not actually meeting, and you have to be honest with yourself when that happens, and to actually take the time to be present with each other. One that I share a lot in the workshop as well is relaxing together, because we're such in a state relaxing together.
Relaxing. Okay, I thought you said singing together.
Oh, you can sing together as well. That'd be fun.
So really?
It will open your throat chakra, and your energy will flow between the two of you. Yeah, totally.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Brilliant. So just relaxing together, because the thing is, especially when we've been together for a while, there is a tendency to be like, after we're coming home doing the cooking, or kind of constantly being in a state of doing, and sex together without fully being in our body, and just lying down together and holding each other and not going into anything, that allows for your nervous system to slow down and for you to arrive in your body. Because when we're in most of our day-to-day life, we're up here and thinking and doing, and it's kind of allowing yourself to arrive within yourself. And when you've dropped and you're more relaxed, your nervous system, you go from sympathetic to parasympathetic, then it's like, hi, we can meet. And my partner does that. Like, sometimes if I arrive and I've been working a lot on the computer a lot, he just comes here and holds me, and he calls me Computer Elise, and he just holds me, and I can feel myself go.
Yeah.
There's that softening that happens, and it doesn't take much. It just takes a few minutes, and then from that place you can relate at a deeper level. And there are lots of ways of touching each other, touching your partner's body as if you didn't know his body was the first time you were touching it, and you were in awe. And because after a while, as I say, we cannot do the thing that we know work, and we do the lips, nipple, Yoni, in that order, that works. But there is no like that curiosity and that set of awe will create deeper intimacy, and you're gonna always find places you didn't know existed, playing together, making love, lots of different ways to create intimacy. I could go on forever, so I'm just gonna leave it to that. Oh, and meditate when you're inside your partner, or your partner is inside you. That's a good one.
Yeah, good. That's some beautiful things that you've just said. I'm going to take on meditating for me.
Yes. That's my kind of meditation.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the tip. I appreciate that. Oh, that's beautiful. So, and I guess just following on that with what you said, it sort of in my journey, I've learned about once you stop being, I call it being curiously engaged with anything, but you know, in the world of relationships, when you think you know someone down to a T, and you know what their reactions are going to be, and you know what they're going to say, it's not living in a world of being curious about that person. And when you bring the curiosity back and the wonderment back in who they are, and the wonderment back to sort of, you know, the relationship of wanting to learn more about that person, and wanting to, you know, experience new moments together, and wanting to be in a world of creation and curiosity, that can really, like, bringing that to the relationship can create like much deeper levels of intimacy. And we can catch ourselves, especially people who are in long-term relationships, and catch ourselves going, I think I know that person down pat. I live with them. You might be in business with them, or you might have had kids with them, and you just, you know, down to achieve it. And we lose that curiosity about the person that we love, because we think we've got the relationship down pat.
Oh my God, and we are not giving them a chance. I know I change a lot. I evolve a lot. I've changed so much in the last 10 years, even in the last year. So if someone is holding me in a box thinking this is me, how are my chances to expand a bit further? But if you can be curious and you don't have any definition, you can really support your partner to blossom in a way that they don't know they could.
Yeah.
Because you don't hold that limitation for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the space that we hold for people to grow, especially in our intimate relationships, is really powerful. And lots of things can evolve, but beautiful intimacy, deep intimacy, sacred love, sacred union can, you know, will evolve from that when you give a person the space to heal and grow, and to be intimate with that person and see them for the first time and see their soul. So anyways, I could go along about that.
And playfulness is another one. Permission to explore, permission to play, permission to explore, to see your age and like, oh, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So is there a difference between intimacy and orgasm?
Intimacy and orgasm?
Oh, sorry, pleasure and orgasm. That's what I want to ask. Yeah. What's the difference? Or is it the same thing?
Good question. So I think it's they're the same and they're different.
Okay.
What's good about redefining those words is that a lot of women that come to me for work, they want to experience this type of orgasm, or they judge themselves because they don't have multiple orgasm, or they haven't experienced G-spot orgasm, and the orgasm is like chasing a peak experience of some kind. It's like, and that thing that's gonna fulfill me. My experience has been of pleasure as a state. So still, you can still be orgasmic.
Yes.
But it doesn't have a peak. And I guess what my journey has been is how much can I open to pleasure? How much can I open to orgasmic energy moving through my body? not only in lovemaking, but when I'm washing the dishes, when I'm walking on the beach and feeling the wind on my skin, like redefining pleasure from just that peak experience and then drop to like an extension, and like bringing it in all area of life. And when you're making love as well, watching when you're chasing that orgasm, and on the other side, like kind of surrendering deeper into your experience of pleasure in this moment. Because there is always more if you let go and drop into it. But if you're chasing and after, often it's almost as if you're never getting exactly what you're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how I would talk about pleasure and orgasm. And for me, what's been important in my journey has been developing sensitivity. So in the same way that I was talking about meditating with my partner, it's been about being so present with myself. And that's something in the 21-day challenge, Pleasure Fest now. The practice is to rest your finger right at the entrance and to breathe and be connecting like with your heart and your yoni, and just like bringing your awareness out and developing that sense of developing the sensitivity of all the tiny sensations and developing that connection. And because often we go for more sensation in lovemaking or when we masturbate, thinking that like that we're going to experience more. But my experience is actually in the allowing of subtle sensation, that you enter the infinity of what pleasure is.
Okay.
I'm going to leave you to that with that.
Okay. No, thank you. And so, but I guess what I've got going on in my head is, so pleasure, the world of pleasure is such a broad subject.
Mm-hmm.
So how do people even begin to discover what they like what tools can they use? Or, and I'm not talking about tools as in sex shop tools, like I'm like, how do they even begin to discover what gives them pleasure if they've lived a life of pleasure's wrong or sex is wrong, or they don't even know what they like?
Yeah.
What advice for that?
What I just talked about, redefining what pleasure is. So instead of pleasure being that peak experience, so then if you don't have that or you've never experienced that, there is something wrong, to being present and actually noticing your clothes on your breast, noticing things that feel good in your everyday life. That's pleasure. And also looking at, as you say, all the judgments that you may have of pleasure, all the judgments that you have of masturbation or self-pleasure, looking at where it comes from. And then that's basically the whole process that we do in the Pleasure Fest and the 21-day challenge is that journey of letting go of the story, of redefining what masturbation or self-pleasure is.
Yeah.
Because, we have an idea, but where does it come from? And just opening yourself to curiosity, being open and a little cheeky, and really play like, reclaiming what pleasure is for yourself, like not trying to find a definition outside, but like finding it inside of yourself. And that's, if you give yourself permission to explore, that will be enough, and you'll find your own definition of pleasure and what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. So may I ask,
can I say something as well?
Of course you can.
On that is explore beyond the clitoris. Explore beyond just the clitoris, because that's what a lot of women do and think there is that way of experiencing pleasure and stimulation of the clitoris and going past that peak. So exploring your whole body, touching yourself in the way that you long to be touched by your partner. Because we all long to be cracked open and be like ravished, and it's like, can you explore yourself in that way, and can you touch everywhere around your yoni, explore, giving yourself permission to see what feels good and what doesn't, without thinking about it. Yeah. And inside, and everywhere.
Okay. You're so gorgeous. Okay. So thank you for all those juicy, delicious details that you've given us. I'd like to find out what are you looking to evolve into sort of, in the future, this year or the next couple of years?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. Yep.
So I'm saying that because I'm releasing my next program tomorrow. That's
okay.
Why. And I guess I already mentioned that I've always liked how the brain functions, and I'm a big fan of the law of attraction, and I've always loved helping women being empowered and not just in the arena of pleasure.
Yes.
I just see the potential in people, and I can just see what people are good at and empowering them to do that. So I wanted to bring all the things that I love together, and I've created a program called The Path of Pleasure, where it's going to be like Anthony Robbins meets Esther Hicks meets sex magic priestess, and it's going to be a 6 months mastermind where we explore, where we really create our life intentionally. There'll be an online component and a live retreat for 7 days in Bali, and I'm going to release that tomorrow. But it's going to be a high vibing mastermind where we use all those things that I talked about, which I'm passionate about, to create the money that we want, the business that we want, the relationship we want, and all that using pleasure. Because I find sometimes a lot of those teaching are really mind-based, and that I love the mindset, it's part of it, but I want to bring all the elements: your mind, your mindset, your vibrations, the law of attraction, your body, using sex magic to manifest, and being connected to your heart and your mission, because I want to support women that want to bring incredible thing into the world, and I want to support them to do that in a way that's nourishing to their body, instead of this masculine push. So really giving the tools, your superpowers are going to be pleasure, rest, play. Because I don't know about you, but I'm the most I have the most to give when I'm having fun, when I'm experiencing pleasure, or when I had a good rest, or went for a walk in nature. That's when I'm ready to go. And sometimes we forget, and that's what I want to bring back. That's the basis, and from that we manifest.
Beautiful.
Yay.
Beautiful. So that is being released tomorrow, is it? That information? Okay, cool. And that be released on your website, elisesavaresse.com.au.
You can look up The Path of Pleasure.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, well, we'll again post the links to all of that. So I have my final question for you, lovely lady.
Yes.
Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you might have seen, I asked Bonnie Bliss the same question.
I did.
Okay. So I would like you to imagine that every human being on this planet has a secret earpiece in their ear.
Mm-hmm. And
in your hand is a microphone that will speak into the hearts and minds of every human being. Doesn't matter what race they are, no matter what, whether they can speak English or not, they're going to get this message. What would be your message to the world?
Trust into your heart, and next time you feel like closing it to protect yourself, just breathe,
Yeah.
stay open, and actually share what you're experiencing, even if it's challenging.
Yeah.
Even if you feel scared, even if you feel shame.
Yeah.
And that's how you're gonna find the place where you're gonna love yourself and you're gonna allow people to love you. And that's how you're gonna be able to share your gift into the world. And if people don't meet you there, move on, because someone will.
Magnificent. Thank you, Elise.
For me, it's like we can't protect anymore. We need to meet deeply. Vulnerability is the key, and we need to be the one that do that, to invite all in that place.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, that's the end of our interview.
It was awesome.
Thank you very much for being part of the Divine Feminine Collective and your contribution. And I really do honour who you are as a woman and the work that you do on your own and together with Bonnie. And my wish for you is that, you know, your business evolves and grows, you know, and that your message gets out there to the world, because it's an important message. I really, I honour who you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. I really appreciate your words. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been very, very fun talking together.
Cool. All right, everyone. Thanks very much.
Mm-hmm.